The room smelled faintly of old paper and jasmine, the same scent that used to linger in my mother's house. It wrapped around me like a memory I wasn't ready to face. I sat stiffly at the long wooden table, my hands clasped tightly in my lap, trying to steady the storm inside my chest. Across from me, my siblings looked comfortable, too comfortable. My older brother leaned back in his chair, one arm draped casually over the side, as if this was just another ordinary day. My younger sister scrolled through her phone, barely hiding her boredom. Neither of them looked like they had spent sleepless nights caring for the woman we were all here to mourn. But I had been there when Mom's voice grew weak, when her hands trembled just trying to hold a glass of water, when the nights stretched endlessly, filled with quiet pain and whispered reassurances. I had stayed. The lawyer cleared his throat, pulling me back to the present. His voice was calm, measured, almost detached. As per the will of your late mother, we will now proceed with the distribution of her estate. My heart began to pound. This was it. A small, fragile hope flickered inside me. Not for wealth, but for acknowledgement, for some sign that she had seen me, that she had known what I had done for her. The family house, the lawyer began, glancing down at the document, will go to the eldest son. I froze. My brother's lips curled into a satisfied smile. The business investments and financial assets will go to the younger daughter. My sister finally looked up, her eyes lighting up with surprise and delight, and the remaining assets will be divided between them. Silence filled the room. A sharp, suffocating silence. I waited. My name would come next, it had to, but it didn't. The lawyer closed the file. That concludes the will. The words hit me like a physical blow. No, I whispered, barely able to hear my own voice. There has to be something else. The lawyer looked at me with quiet sympathy but shook his head. I'm sorry. Sorry. That single word shattered whatever fragile hope I had left. I felt the weight of every sacrifice crash down on me all at once. Every meal I had skipped to afford her medicine. Every opportunity I had turned down. Every night I had sat beside her, holding her hand while she fought to breathe. And yet I was nothing in her will. A stranger would have received more. I stood up slowly, my legs trembling beneath me. I refused to cry. Not here, not in front of them. My siblings didn't even try to hide their satisfaction now. Their silence said everything. I turned to leave, but just as my hand reached the door, the lawyer spoke again. Wait, I paused. There is one more thing for you. My heart skipped. He reached into his briefcase and pulled out a sealed envelope, my name written on it in handwriting I knew by heart. And suddenly, everything changed. My fingers tightened around the envelope as if it might disappear if I loosened my grip. The paper felt fragile, yet impossibly heavy, like it carried something far greater than its weight. My name was written across the front in my mother's familiar handwriting. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Open it, my brother said impatiently, leaning forward. What is it? I ignored him. This wasn't for them. This was for me. Slowly, carefully, I broke the seal. The soft tear of paper echoed louder than it should have in the quiet room. Inside, there was a folded letter and a small metallic key that slipped into my palm. My heart began to race. I unfolded the letter with trembling hands. My dearest child. It began. Tears instantly blurred my vision. It felt like she was speaking directly to me again, like she was still here. If you are reading this, then everything has happened exactly as I intended. I frowned slightly, confusion mixing with the ache in my chest. Intended? I know you must be hurting right now. I know you must feel betrayed, and for that, I am deeply sorry. A tear slipped down my cheek. Yes, I was hurting, more than I could put into words, but please trust me when I say this was necessary. I clenched the letter tighter. Necessary for what? Your siblings have always valued what I could give them. Their love came with expectations, with conditions, but you, my breath caught. You stayed when I had nothing left. You gave without asking. You loved me when I was at my weakest. My vision blurred again, but this time it wasn't just pain. It was something softer, something warmer. That is why the true inheritance is not written in that will. My heart skipped. I glanced down at the small key resting in my hand. The key you now hold belongs to a safe deposit box. Inside, You will find documents, properties, investments, and accounts that I kept hidden. I froze. Hidden. Everything of real value has been placed there in your name. The room seemed to spin. My siblings shifted in their seats, watching me closely, trying to read my expression, but I couldn't look at them. I had to protect it. If I had revealed it openly, it would have been taken, fought over, and destroyed. This way, the truth reveals itself. My grip tightened. The truth, you will see them for who they are, and they will see themselves too late. A strange calm began to settle over me. The pain was still there, but it was changing. Forgive me for the role I had to play, but understand this love is not always loud. Sometimes it hides so it can survive. Tears slid silently down my face. Everything I built, everything I leave behind belongs to you, not because you asked for it, but because you earned it. My hands trembled as I lowered the letter. For the first time since the reading of the will, I didn't feel empty, I felt chosen. The bank was quiet, almost eerily so, as I stepped inside. The air felt colder than usual, carrying a sense of finality, as if I were about to uncover something that would change everything. I approached the front desk, my hand tightening around the small metallic key. I'd like to access a safe deposit box, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Minutes later, I was led into a private vault room. The heavy steel door closed behind me with a dull thud, sealing me inside with nothing but silence and truth. The attendant gestured toward a small box. This is yours and mine. The word echoed in my mind. With trembling hands, I inserted the key and turned it. The lock clicked open, sharp and decisive. Slowly, I lifted the lid. Inside were neatly stacked documents, folders, and sealed envelopes. I picked up the first file, property deeds, another, investment portfolios, another, bank account statements with numbers so large they didn't feel real. My breath caught. This wasn't just an inheritance. It was everything. My mother hadn't left me behind. She had trusted me with it all. For a moment, I closed my eyes, overwhelmed. All the pain, the betrayal, the confusion, it began to shift into something else. Clarity, purpose, and then resolve. A week later, my siblings were celebrating. Photos flooded social media, laughing faces, expensive dinners, captions about new beginnings. They believed they had won. I let them, until I didn't. We met again at the house, the same house that had been handed to my brother. He greeted me with that same smug expression, leaning casually against the doorway. Well, look who's back, he said with a smirk. Changed your mind. I smiled faintly, something like that. My sister crossed her arms. If you're here to argue about the will, don't waste our time. It's already settled. Oh, I know, I replied calmly. I stepped inside and placed a thick folder on the table. Their expressions shifted, curiosity replacing arrogance. What's this? My brother asked. Take a look. I said. He opened it. At first, there was confusion. His brow furrowed as he flipped through the pages. Then his face paled. My sister leaned in, scanning the documents, and her expression changed just as quickly. What is this? She whispered. Ownership papers. I said quietly, for the properties, the accounts, and the controlling shares of the company. Silence fell like a hammer. That's not possible, my brother snapped. Mom gave those to us. I met his gaze steadily. No, I said. She gave you what you wanted to see. Their hands trembled as they flipped through the documents again, searching for a mistake that wasn't there. You lied to her, my sister accused, her voice shaking. I shook my head slowly. I didn't have to. I replied. The truth was simple. They had revealed themselves, and now so had I. The silence in the room lingered long after the truth was revealed. My siblings stood frozen, their faces pale, their confidence shattered piece by piece. For the first time, they looked uncertain, like the ground beneath them had disappeared. I didn't feel victorious, not in the way I once imagined. There was no rush of triumph, no overwhelming sense of revenge. Instead, there was something quieter, something deeper. Closure. My brother slammed the folder shut, his hands shaking. This isn't fair, he muttered, more to himself than to me. Fair, the word almost made me smile. Was it fair? I asked softly when I stayed and took care of her alone. Neither of them answered. My sister looked down, unable to meet my eyes. The weight of reality had finally settled on her shoulders. They weren't angry anymore, not truly. They were exposed. I'm not here to take everything from you. I continued, my voice calm but firm. That's not what she wanted, and it's not who I am. They looked up at me then, surprised. I just wanted you to understand, I said. What she saw, what she knew. The room felt different now. The arrogance that once filled it had vanished, replaced by something heavier regret. I picked up the folder and closed it gently. The house is still yours. I said to my brother, live in it, take care of it. His eyes widened slightly, confusion flickering across his face. And the rest? My sister asked quietly. I'll manage it. I replied responsibly. Not with greed, not with pride, but with purpose. Weeks passed, and life slowly began to change. I didn't flaunt what I had inherited. I didn't post about it or use it to prove anything. Instead, I invested carefully, rebuilt quietly, and created something meaningful from what my mother had left behind. A future, not just for myself, but something she would have been proud of. Sometimes, I still thought about that day. The reading of the will, the pain, the feeling of being forgotten. But now I understood. She hadn't abandoned me. She had protected me, protected what truly mattered. One evening, I returned to the old garden behind the house, the place where she used to sit in the afternoons. Surrounded by flowers she cared for with so much love. I stood there in the fading light, feeling the soft breeze against my skin. For the first time in a long while, I felt at peace. I understand now, I whispered, and somehow I felt like she heard me, because in the end, she hadn't just given me wealth. She had given me something far greater, truth, strength, and the quiet, unshakable knowledge that real love doesn't need to be seen to be real. As I turned to leave, a small smile touched my lips. This wasn't just an ending. It was a beginning,